All right, so we should be live. We should be on your feeds. Got a guest here with me today who I'm excited to talk to. And she's going to be sharing some value here when it comes to online coaching, delivering online coaching and getting results with online clients. And so, Toni, I'm going to do a little bit of an intro for you, just so that people kind of know a little bit as to your background. And then would love for you to share a little bit in terms of like your journey going from PT and to online coach
Yeah.
in a second. But Toni and I have been working together over the last few months, pretty much this year, really, isn't it, Toni,
Yeah.
that we've been working together. And Toni has set up her business all online. And am I right in saying that all your clients now come from LinkedIn as well?
Yeah.
Okay, so all your clients
100%.
are coming from LinkedIn. So pretty
Mhm.
straightforward process, fully online.
Yeah.
All clients are coming from LinkedIn, which is interesting because I'm doing a masterclass this evening at 7 p.m. On LinkedIn specifically, the power of LinkedIn. Maybe we'll touch on that a little bit later on in the call. And then you're helping specifically men. Yeah, you're helping
Yeah.
men with losing weight, and your methodology is around behavioral change specifically
Mhm.
in terms of what you do. And so I'd love for you to kind of share with us before we get into kind of the nitty gritty of what you do. You were a personal trainer originally, and then you transitioned online. Like,
Yeah.
what made you decide to go from the gym floor to running your business through a laptop, through LinkedIn, and doing online coaching?
So it was, I think I don't think I even got 2 years as a PT on the floor, on the gym floor. I qualified and I went straight onto the gym floor. And I was getting really good results, but there was something missing in between sessions. Like they were getting good results, but I just knew from chatting to them that what was making me curious and where I knew I suppose I could offer more help was what was happening in between the days that they weren't seeing me. And I happened to, well, did I stumble across it or not? I don't know. It was behavior change coaching. So I started to follow that and it just really resonated with me. Why we don't do what we say we're going to do, what, life gets in the way, all that kind of stuff. And I just really, really enjoyed, listening to the audios on it. And just, I suppose it just made sense to me. So I made the decision that bigger picture, because I'm turning 50 next month. And I thought, I don't want to be bigger picture. I'm not in my 20s anymore. I need to be real here. And I need to kind of soundproof the business and have, a bigger picture. So I thought, look, I'll do that nearly as a side thing and kind of work my way into it. But COVID hit in the meantime. And I made the decision, I suppose, to just completely come out of the gym and go fully online. And I was getting better results. That was the big thing that I couldn't get my head around. I was actually getting better results all around coaching online. And that for me was like, how the hell? Because that was one of my concerns. Like, how in my brain could you take somebody from a gym floor? What do you do with them? How do you do it? Like, it just didn't compute. But I remember my the first time it started to work, and I was like, right, okay, wow, this is powerful stuff. Like, it's just mind blowing, So I haven't looked back.
I want to go back because this is interesting, because you
Yeah,
were almost like, I don't want to say forced, but because of the situation, it brought about the actual need to go online. Like, you had to go online. You had no choice to go online,
yeah,
right? Because of the situation.
yeah,
And this is kind of similar to my journey as well, actually, when it comes to what I was doing previous to the lockdown, so to speak, and the gyms closing, is helping PTs on the gym floor build out their businesses, just like you were on the gym floor, helping people face to face. And because the gyms closed, I didn't have a business anymore helping PTs on the gym floor because the gyms didn't exist.
yeah,
And so all of them wanted to take their businesses online, and it was a big learning curve, I'll be honest, for me, like figuring out, or how am I going to actually get them results in an online setting, because online is very different, whether it's business, whether it's
mm,
fitness online, and there's a little bit of a learning curve, so to
yeah.
speak. How did that process feel to you, going from the gym floor into the online world? Like, what was going through your mind? What did that feel like, and what really
Yeah,
helped you kind of make progress as well?
You're 100% right. It's a completely different energy, totally different energy, and it's nearly more vulnerable in some ways. And I was always going online. I think just COVID pushed me quicker into making the
Mm,
decision, which, it happened for a reason type of stuff. It took time. I'll be honest with you. It took time because it was nearly convincing myself and my own self-belief that I could do this. The process was there. It worked. The guys I was working with, like, they're masters in what they do. And it resonated with me, but I think it was me giving myself the break and saying, you know what, you might be a bit crap at this to start, but you're going to have to earn your stripes, build it as you go type of stuff. And it's the only way I'm going to do it is by doing it. Like, the other person, as long as I'm helping them, doesn't know exactly what I'm supposed to be doing. And I think that's what had stopped me. I had this big thing in my head, oh my God, they're paying me money to go online. What if? And in my head I was getting carried away with myself. But once I started to kind of give myself permission to, just do what I normally do. And if I mess up a little bit, I mess up. It's not the end of the world. I gradually then started to kind of settle into it. It became comfortable. And I love it now. I am so at home. I've had clients actually say to me, or that when they've been doing video testimonials, that they've never met me. And it is a skill set to be able to have and help somebody make that change in their life without actually never stepping into the same room as them. And it was only when I listened back to that audio and I thought, actually, yeah, but when you feel so comfortable through practice of doing, it just becomes second nature, So I think it's giving yourself the permission to, you might make a mess of it for the first while to you, but they don't know any different. So yeah, you'll learn as you go. Once you're giving quality and service, it's a win-win.
big takeaway there for everyone listening is like, you're typically not going to feel comfortable when you're first starting out because you're not confident. And the reason you're not confident is because you've not got experience, because experience develops skill and confidence comes from skill. And so I love what you said about kind of just accepting that you're not going to have all the answers or you're not going to feel 100% comfortable at the beginning, but through perseverance and continuing to work on it, reflecting on your case studies or reviews or testimonials, and really just realizing what you're actually achieving for these people that you're working for, you then start developing the self-belief, the confidence, and the experience, to know what to do on a day-to-day basis. And then it kind of locks into place, so to speak. But it takes time. And this is what I'm really big on as well, is I'm not into quick fixes or selling quick fixes to the people I work with. Sure, you can have some initial success when it comes to launching your business, getting some clients on board, but it's kind of like developing the behavior to maintain weight loss. You can lose weight in 90 days, but to keep weight off, it can take 1 year, 2 years of behavioral change, which we'll get into in just 1 second, which is what you do. And it's the same with business. So if anyone is listening to this, you're a personal trainer, and maybe you've made a little bit of progress online, you've done some social media posts, you've talked about online coaching, but you've not got a ton of people sign up. Just appreciate it's a process. It takes time, like changing behaviors to help someone maintain a weight loss result. It takes time to change those behaviors, just like building a business takes time. And you're a testament to someone who has come to terms with that. Like, it's a process. You've continued to invest in yourself, in your thinking, in your skill set, in your strategies. And over time, it's now led you to a place where you're generating clients each month, you're bringing in revenue, and you're doing this full time, and you're not doing PT anymore.
Yeah. No, it is. It's staying engaged. And one thing I would say is people are always watching. Because that was one thing I found really difficult in the beginning, was like, I wouldn't get an awful lot of engagement on posts and things like that previously. And it used to really get to me. And then I realized some people would message me and say, oh, I've been watching you. They may not comment, especially on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is a different beast. They may not comment because they don't want everybody else then to see that they've commented on a weight loss program or something like that. And they're quite private. So the big thing, I think, is don't make it about you and how you're feeling. It's a service is the key, if I was to say anything. Somebody is always watching. Someone. somewhere is watching, and they will come and say it to you. They'll message you out of the blue. 3 months ago, they've watched something and it's stuck with them. And that's why they're something then that you've posted has just said, right, okay, I need to message this girl.
Another great thing that you've learned from experience, right? You
Yeah,
would only know that if you've been doing this long enough to understand that you don't necessarily need engagement to create a conversation
yeah,
and to create a client, because some of these people who are going to become your next clients are never
mhm,
engaging, especially
yep,
if you're working in a niche like yours where you're helping busy professionals in senior
yeah,
positions, like in those top tier positions.
yeah,
They don't want to be confessing on your on your LinkedIn post that they want to lose weight,
yeah,
or like there's something wrong. They want to do that in private, and so they'll have those private conversations with you. But you need a mechanism for starting those private conversations to find the people who
yeah,
are wanting to make a change, but are not necessarily engaging in the content. Interestingly, in the RCA group, one of the coaches posted in there the other day about a live training she did. And I know you do live trainings
yeah,
pretty consistently. We're here on a live training right now, which is probably why you're pretty relaxed, because you're doing them week in, week out. You're
yeah.
showing up on camera.
Every
You
Wednesday,
sh-
yeah.
you're showing up. One of the things that we discussed, um, and she mentioned that she'd done a live and she didn't really get much from it. And I said to her, go back to the lives and tell me how many people saw those lives. Because on Facebook, you could actually see how many people actually watched it. And interestingly, when she went back, she said between the two lives I did, 600 people had viewed them.
Yeah,
And I said, there you go. So what you need to appreciate is some people are not going to like, they're not going to engage, they're not going to comment, but they're watching. And she's got a relatively small audience, probably 1,500 or less, and 600 views across two. That's a lot of people
yeah,
who have just tuned in to what you're saying. And so don't be put off by engagement, and don't play to just engagement, play to like being consistently visible. Like that
yeah,
should be your goal. And if you produce enough content and you're consistently visible, people are going to see you, people are going to start consuming your content, and then it can lead to those
yeah,
conversations that are going to lead to clients. So let's dive into like what you're doing with your clients. That'd be interesting for
yeah.
everyone to understand, because you're big into the behavioral change aspect of coaching. How does that all work for anyone that's listening?
So I niche down to busy professional men, because they're flat out busy. They don't, so a lot of them don't particularly like the gym. They don't have time. They're super successful in their careers. They've got family at home, and just life's a bit manic, really, and
Hmm.
crazy. Um, so where I come in, I suppose, is I keep things simple. I'm all about simplicity, not over getting all the bells and whistles going. And I bring things really, really back to basics, because by the time they've got to me, they have either done nothing and it's all of a sudden it's like, God, something needs to happen here, or they have tried everything and anything, and they're just a little bit lost. But they have this perception in their head of what taking better care of themselves is about. They see the chicken and the broccoli and the beasting themselves out of it in gyms and all this, and gym bunnies and all this, and it puts them off. Where I think where I suppose I have made a little corner for myself is where I'm very I like things simple and basic, as I said. I don't overcomplicate it. And I think once they realize that it's actually doable doing that, it's like this complete change. And then it's bedding down on the basics and building from there. So we look each week at their kind of, I suppose, the first 4 weeks, I do like an exploratory phase, I suppose. We look at what they're doing. There's no wrong, there's no right. We look at it together, and we look at it in I suppose, in tandem with their life and their lifestyle, because they're busy. And they're very much on par with beside me. It's not me talking at them, telling, I'm coaching them. So they're coming up with a lot of the stuff themselves. They just don't realize it. And it's holding them accountable as well. It's somebody there as a buffer, and somebody there to hold them accountable and say, hey, you know what? We discussed this. You didn't do it. What happened? What can we do differently next time? And I think I keep it so simple. I keep it so simple, really, is where I think a lot of my clients like it. And they're not afraid to get on the call because they haven't done X, Y, and Z. They're not going to be beaten with a big stick because they didn't do or they didn't work out. They feel quite happy to get on and say, look, Toni, I had an absolute crap week, didn't do X, Y, and Z, and we talk it through, you know. And I've often said I want my clients to fail, which possibly sounds mental, but then I know once they fail a week or two into the program, midway through, how they come out of that is a clear indication to me that I've done my job. They don't need me after the 12 weeks unless we decide that we want to do some more work together, and I have different programs for that. But they're good to go, and I think that's what attracts them to working with me.
Mm-hmm. Do you take each one of your clients through a specific flow of things that you teach and cover at this stage?
Yeah, like I would. It's a blueprint that I would use. So we do some personal development in there as well, but it's very much around looking at their habits with food and the person future pacing into the person that they want to be, you know, getting in front of problems week by week, you know, that if this does arise, we already have a solution, right? So if this happens, this is what we're going to do to counteract it. So by the time it happens, sometimes it doesn't, they're already okay with it. It's not this big drama, and they've sidestepped and they can just get back on. So I will also look at their food. We'll do pictures if that's okay with them. Some clients don't like it. You know, I use a blueprint, but I suppose I tailor it if I need to towards the individual, because I'm coming from a place of service, and I'm not going to stress somebody out if that's what they don't want to do. But there's other ways of tracking the metrics. We don't have to just rely on the weight, the numbers on the scales and things. There's loads of things we can do. But I would use a blueprint, I suppose, as a gauge, and we'll touch on different things. But it is usually just, you know, chatting to them and going through the week and giving the blueprint and organizing their goals and things and working our way through. It's a chat, really. It's not a hot and heavy kind of thing, you know, and I think that's what they like. You know, they all try. I'm saying this now, I'll catch myself. I don't have anyone that doesn't turn up to my calls. I don't get no shows on any of my coaching calls. Like, it's always there, you know. They're always fully engaged.
And on these coaching calls, for anyone listening, because I want to give people the context of what online coaching can look like on the podcast, because I've had various different people on, and if you're listening to this back on the platform, or you're watching the live and you're in the group, you'll be able to see this in the guide section or on the podcast. But there's various different coaches, and they all have various different ways of coaching their clients. Some are heavily using apps, others are using membership sites, others are using like emails to deliver content, others are jumping on calls. And so there's no right or wrong way of doing it. There's just different ways of doing it. And what I've kind of come to understand about the way that you like to do things is it is centered around the calls that you do. You know, the calls are a very big part of the work that you do. And I imagine that's because you have a big behavioral change aspect, and it kind of requires a two-way dialogue and not just a one-way education lesson, so to speak.
Yeah.
Would you say that's accurate?
Yeah, I do. I agree, Alex, because the way I look at it is they're investing in me, you know, time, money, and I want to be with them on the journey. So I want to offer that service. So if they're having a week where they're challenged, you know, it could be getting on a call and having a chat about it and figuring out, you know, is it as big a deal as it's been made to be, you know, when we talk it through. And sometimes just listening to somebody helps. You know, life is so busy now. Where do you get an hour to yourself that someone just listens to, you know, and they'll guide you in what you're doing? You know, I had a typical example yesterday with one of my clients. He had 4 outings basically between birthdays, Father's Day, all that kind of stuff. He in his head thought he'd done really well with his food, and his choices were great, but he put weight on, okay? Not a huge amount, but he was absolutely distraught literally at the thoughts of putting this weight on. But when we talked about it, then by the end of it, he was smiling and he said, look, okay, it makes sense now, because we talked about it. And for me, the value of my program certainly is in the coaching calls. You know, I do use an app. I do track their food. I do track their weight, their photos. But 3 to 4 weeks into my program, most clients will say to me, this isn't really about the weight, Toni. You know, we start to look at different things, and the weight is a side effect, absolutely, but it's bringing it all together. And I think the method that I use and the areas that I look at, it's just bringing it all together. And that's then what it ends up being consistent, with it over time.
I think I know the answer to this based on what we've just discussed, but what would you say leads to the biggest results in your program? So if you were to look at like one main thing that is like a must have in your program that drives results, what would you say that thing is?
For me or for the client?
For the client, yeah. For your clients, if you were just thinking about like the big thing you do with every single client that leads to them getting results. Of course, there's many things when
Yeah.
combined lead to the overall result. But is there one thing that you notice that you're always doing with the clients that lead them to results online?
I think for me, it's the balance between empathy and strength, because people know when they're not doing what they should be doing. We all do, and it's the skill set, I suppose, of being able to listen, but being able to say, right, okay, we know X and Y is going on, so what are we going to do about it? And especially
Uh,
with the niche that I work with, these
mhm.
guys are like, they could have teams, and here's little me sitting on the other side of a screen putting it up to some big boss. Do you know what I mean? But I think I build such a rapport with them from the off, and I'm very upfront when I do my onboarding calls and things like that. They respect it and they'll take it from me, because they're not paying me to rub their back and tell them how amazing they are. They've come to me because they need help, and I don't feel that I'm doing them any justice or service by, not letting them away with things. But if we've talked about things and it's not happening, then we need to have a conversation about it. But that has come through experience and holding my own integrity and raising my own
Mhm.
standards, and the work that I've done on myself to be able to do that. Have I
So
answered
what
that?
I
Have I gone off on one?
Yeah, well, let's see if I understood it correctly. For one, myself, and for two, everyone else
Yeah.
listening, what I took from that is fair but firm
Yeah.
and calling people out in a way that's not in an aggressive way
Yeah.
or a negative way, but
Yeah.
it's in pursuit of serving that person. So
Yeah.
calling them out when they're not doing something or something is not happening, or there needs to be a change for them
Yeah.
to get results. And if you just dismiss it or don't address it, then it's just going to consistently
Yeah.
come up time and time again. And so you've got to be fair but firm, and then call out what is going on so that you
Yeah.
guys can move forward as a team. Is what I'm hearing.
Yeah.
As a team,
Absolutely.
not as you just saying this is what you got to do, but as a team, you're
Yeah.
working together.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah. That's it.
So, what would you say to any personal trainer, and we'll end on this, who is looking to take their business online? All they know is personal training, doing sessions either in a studio, on the gym floor, privately, and they want to get started online. What would your advice be to those trainers?
I think it would be, look at the bigger picture and be brave. You're not going to know everything from the start. That's why you hire a coach, and someone who has, if it's one thing, it's invest in yourself and people
Mhm.
who have done it before you, and they have skin in the game, because they know what they're doing and they're where they are for a reason. Because I sat back for a long time, and fear, we all get afraid, but I was nearly paralyzing myself from moving forward, and there's so many people out there that we can help, the service that we offer, and they're just waiting to hear from you. So the way I look at it now is that I'm doing myself and them an injustice if I don't get stuck in. So I would say to you, just be brave, have the conversations, ask the questions, at least dip your toe in and make the decision if that's what you want to do, and be okay with the fact that it's a learning curve. It's not going to happen overnight. You have to be patient. It's repetition over time, repetition over time. It's like the gym, losing weight. It's not going to happen overnight. No professional athlete won gold or went to the Olympics the first day they started their sport. They had to put some skin in the game. So it's the same thing. It's easing up on yourself, being true to yourself, and just getting stuck in.
Great advice. Love it. Simple but effective,
Yep.
straightforward, no BS from
No.
Toni.
Don't do
You're a,
BS.
no, you're a straight talker. I know that for sure. You're a straight talker, and that's why I think your niche works well for you, even though you're female and you're are dealing with these quite powerful men,
Mhm.
in very senior positions, C-suite executive level people, a lot of them. But I think it's just because you're fair, but you're firm, and you call them out. And I think that's what works well for you and the niche you found. So appreciate you coming on. If people are listening to this and you got some insight, give it a like, say thanks in the comments to Toni for coming on and actually spending 25 minutes with us to talk about what she does with her online coaching programs. And we'll see you on the next episode of the podcast. Thank you so much, Toni. Really appreciate you. And yeah, really grateful for your time.
Cheers.